the stalls haven't been cleaned ever. So they're standing on dirt that's as high as a foot to 2 foot.
His feet are horrific. It looks like somebody's just let his toes grow out and taken a saw and cut them off. This is just horrible. Absolutely horrible. I think she's the skinniest horse I've ever seen here.
The owner of the 26 horses has arrived to fight for custody. Senior investigator Christy Franks and Dr. Barbara Call will make the case for the Houston SPCA.
Counsel, would you approach, please?
Many of the horses are still in critical condition. Winning the case could be a matter of life or death.
You have been sworn in?
Yes, sir. Tell the judge your name and how you're employed.
My name is Christy Franks. I'm the senior investigator for the Houston SPCA.
District Attorney Lori Sellers wants to hear the reasons why the team decided to seize the horses.
There's several of the horses that their feet have been growing for such a length of time that they've now turned out, and the horse is walking on the improper part of the foot. They're walking on what should be the wall of the foot instead of the sole of the foot. So that causes lameness. It can cause problems with the bones in their legs.
Have you been sworn in?
Yes, I have, sir. General impression when I first looked at the horses was that they were underweight, poor hair coats, lethargic, poor hoof conformation from lack of care. There was one particular horse whose hoof care has been so poor for so long that the bone structure actually had to modify in order for that horse to be able to stand on the hind limb.
Do you have an opinion as to whether or not any of these horses could or should be returned?
I would not return any of these horses.
Okay, thank you. You have the right to cross-examine this witness and ask any questions.
I don't have any questions.
The owner chooses not to cross-examine Dr. Call. Instead, he'll be calling on his own vet to act as a witness. The judge will hear the case for the defense next.
Baker.
Okay, you call Dr. Baker?
Yeah.
Dr. Baker, I believe you've been sworn in?
Yes.
After examining the horses at the Houston SPCA, Dr. Barbara Call believes that many will die if returned to their owner. The owner's vet is called to testify.
My assessment was basically much of his problem at that time was nutritional. And I felt like if he would maintain his overall herd on a very good nutritional program, I felt like those horses that were thin would gain weight.
The owner's vet also acknowledges that the weight problem is one of many. Some of the horses are lame, others have severe dental problems, and the condition of the stables is appalling. District Attorney Lori Sellers makes a closing statement.
Judge, you've heard all the evidence, seen these pictures, horrendous pictures. These horses cannot live in that condition, in that environment. None of them are in good health. None of them should be returned. All of them need to be treated and taken care of by someone who can do so.
Do you have any final statement to make, sir?
No, I don't, Judge.
These horses depend on you. And the court, after hearing the testimony and examining the evidence, is of the opinion that all of the horses should be awarded to the SPCA. Court hereby orders that. Any questions? Good luck, sir.
I felt really good today to get the animals out of there, get them in a situation where, everything can be consistent for him, because there's times he takes good care of them, and then there's times he can't afford to take care of them, or he doesn't feel well and he's not taking care of them. So it feels really good to get them out of that type of situation and get them in a nice home where they'll be taken care of consistently, where the people will be providing for them the way they should be.
At the Houston SPCA stable, the veterinary team has begun working on the miniature horses seized from Waller County. One in particular is causing concern. John Bond's hooves are in horrible condition. The team is worried that he might have to be humanely euthanized. They've called in Farrier Steve Wisnieski to see if anything can be done.
Well, he's in your hands.
There you go. Wow. This I've never seen before. What we're looking at, we should be looking at a frog, we should be looking at the bottom of his foot, but we're not. This is not the bottom of his foot. What we're seeing is this hoof wall has actually grown over and around and wrapped around the bottom of his horse's foot. See, we pick up this foot and we can actually see the bottom of the foot. You know, we can see some landmarks. Here's his frog. It's kind of crooked and hard, but at least he's got a frog. There's one of his bars. There's the other bar growing around there. And we can see the outline of the hoof wall. I mean, you know, that's overgrown it may be and ugly, but that's a foot. And that's what a foot should look like. But when we look at this, come here, little buddy, we don't see any of that. We're going to need to sedate him. I'm going to have to put a grinder on that foot to try to get that hoof. I don't know how sensitive that hoof wall is going to be.
Yeah, I don't know either. Okay.
Yeah, we might see some blood on this one.
At the Houston SPCA stables, Farrier Steve Wisnieski is attempting a risky procedure to save a miniature horse named John Bon.
You have to have done this before. This is not, you don't want this to be the first time you grind on a horse's hoof. You got to know what you're doing. You got to understand the pressure. You got to understand, you know, you don't want to push too hard, and you got to learn to keep your hand out of the way.
John Bon's hooves are so seriously neglected that he could be beyond help. Drastic situations call for drastic measures, so John Bon is sedated, allowing Steve to gently grind away at the hoof wall. What it reveals is shocking.
There's his frog. I'm hoping that because this thing has grown over for so long, that blood supply has been pinched off, is what I'm hoping for. If we're lucky. If not, we're going to find out here in about 5 minutes. Well, we know how far we can go now. We may have to do some thinking outside the box here with his foot.
Steve needs to help John Bon's hoof wall to straighten out. And after a little thought, he comes up with a plan.
I'm going to put some glue on the bottom of those feet, try to build him a platform for him a flat platform for him to walk on. And, you know, we just need to try and get these hoof walls to start growing straight. That's going to be his savior. Once we get a hoof wall growing in the right direction, we're home free. What this glue is going to do is prevent that hoof wall from rolling on it. It's going to keep it straight as he walks along. If the glue falls off, we just come back and put another set of glue on there, and he's fine. I'm basically making him a new hoof wall is what I'm doing. I'm going to dictate how I want him to walk. It's nice and hard. It's still hot. I mean, there's a chemical reaction going on in there as it's solidifying. But, you know, he's got support, so now if that hoof wall, before it kind of wants to roll, because he still isn't standing on the inside of the hoof wall, I'm not worried about that because all his weight's still out on the outside. If you look at his leg now, his leg is nice and straight. Whereas before his knees were in a little bit. I think we've accomplished all we're going to accomplish today. It still doesn't look very pretty, but on these cases like this, it's function more than form that I'm looking for. I'm satisfied with what we've got today.
It's a positive start. But if John Bon is to make a full recovery, Steve will need to dedicate many months to his care.
Side of the gauge is wait for my signal.
We're going to need to sedate him. I'm going to have to put a grinder on that foot to try to get that hoof. I don't know how sensitive that hoof wall is going to be. Yeah, we might see some blood on this one. We have to do some thinking outside the box here with his foot. I'm basically making him a new hoof wall is what I'm doing. I'm going to dictate how I want him to walk.
It's been nearly 2 months since the miniature horse named John Bon was seized by the Houston SPCA.
See you, little buddy?
Farrier Steve Wisnieski decided to foster him and has enjoyed watching his personality emerge.
Yeah, he still thinks he's a stallion. He's been gelded. There's no doubt in his mind that he's a stallion.
And any stallion, no matter what size, can be a force to be reckoned with.
That's his. I'm a stallion, and I'm going to kick everybody's butt.
When John Bond arrived at the shelter, there were fears he might have to be humanely euthanized. But Steve's now confident that with time, he'll make a full recovery.
Probably a better than 50% chance he's going to be staying here. So timing was pretty good for him. He was at the right place at the right time, and now he's got it made. He's on Easy Street. That's my boy. Come on. Come here, little buddy.